Hi, Elaine here. If you've ever wondered how to handle a huge number of images and create a great layout, I have the answer for you in this video, with not one, but two options. Today, it's a viewer's challenge. Yes, another one. Very specific requirements this time though. A document size of 100 centimetres by 100 centimetres. For the uninitiated, that is 1000 millimetres, which is 39.37 inches. That document then needs to be segmented into blocks of 10 centimetres by 10 centimetres, or 100 millimetres by 100 millimetres, or 3.937 inches square. Each block is going to contain an image, 100 images in total. No, I wouldn't want to do that manually either. A few preliminary considerations first. The names of the images don't matter. They don't have to be a sequential list from 1 to 100. This is because there's an easy way to add images with any names to the data source. Yes, it's going to be a data merge. The data source can be Excel or a CSV file. That's a comma-separated values file. In essence, it's a text file. Now on Mac OS, it's easy to do this. You locate the files in the Finder and copy them all. In Windows, the equivalent is to use the File Explorer and select Copy as Path from the menu. I do believe that is only available in Windows 11, but seeing as though I'm not a Windows user, I can't confirm that. Now, once you've got the images on your clipboard, you then paste into a text editor. On Mac, you have TextEdit. There's also Cot Editor, which is free. And on Windows, you have Notepad. Once you have the list of files in a text editor, copy it again and then paste it into the spreadsheet and just save the file. Or your comma-separated file, however you choose to work. This is what my data source looks like. It has a single column with a heading of image, and then I have 100 rows that have a relative path to each image in there. As you can see, my images are in a folder called Flowers. And these are the images in question. Notice that they're not all the same format. The first 21 are JPEGs, the remaining images are WebP files. The images don't all have to be the same format, but obviously they do have to be a format that Affinity Publisher supports. And now we've got all the background information sorted out, let's head to Affinity Publisher and create the file. File New got me to the New Document dialog box, and in here I'm going to have to create a custom layout. So starting with the Layout tab, I'm going to put in there 1000 millimetres. By 1000 millimetres. The DPI is going to depend on the output. I'll leave it set to 300 here. One thing that is worth considering at this point is whether you want your images linked or embedded. If you choose embedded, it's going to make a huge file. But if you choose linked and then move those images, that could be just as problematic. I usually embed the images. It's not a decision you have to make once, you can change your mind down the line. In fact, when I actually do the merge, we'll see that I get another prompt about that. Moving on to the pages. Now I only need one page and it's set here to a single page. Colour again is going to depend on your output, so I'm just leaving it set. I don't need any margins for this document at all because we're using the entire surface area of it. The bleed is going to depend on your output. I'm just leaving mine set to 0. And then create. It doesn't actually look that much bigger than an A4 page or any other page, but trust me, it's huge. Now you may be thinking at this stage, oh, we're going to need a grid, we're going to need some guides, we're going to need lines. No, we're not. This is actually really straightforward. All you need to do to lay out 100 images is add a single data merge layout. That's it. So over to the data merge layout tool in the toolbar, and draw out that data merge layout. Initially, as ever, it gives you 2 rows and 2 columns. But what we need here is 10 rows and 10 columns. So I'll use the up arrows for one and type in the other one. And we now have 100 squares. We're not quite done yet, but there isn't actually much left to do. All I need next is the picture frame rectangle tool. and I'm going to add a picture frame to that first cell. As you can see, as I add it into the first cell of the data merge layout, it gets automatically added to all of the others. Now, the brief for this was that they were 10 centimetres square or 100 millimetres. So all I'm going to do with this is stretch it out so it fills the full cell in the data merge layout. And that is the layout complete. The next step is to connect to the data source. And for that, I need to go to Window and down to Data Merge Manager. In here, I need to link to my data source. I have 2 Excel files here. The one I need has 100 images. And once I've got it selected, just click Open. It only has a single sheet in it, as we've seen, called Flowers. And that's it. I'll move that out of the way. The one thing that is left to do is to connect the single field from the data source to this single picture frame. The Fields panel contains a list of the fields contained in our data source, and there's only one, which is an image. What I need to do here is make sure that I have got selected the actual picture frame. To check that, check your Layers panel, and then double-click on the Image field. That fills our grid with blue reference images to tell us that the data is now hooked up to it. That is it. I will save this file at this point, and we're good to run the data merge. Bringing back the Data Merge Manager, all I need to do is generate. Given the size of the document and the number of images, it may take a few seconds. And this is the message that I mentioned. Your document contains a large amount of embedded image data. Would you like to link to the images to reduce the document size? Now, as I said, I'm not concerned about the document size, but this is the point that you get to choose for a second time. I'm going to say, no, I don't want to link to the images. And then close my data merge dialog, and there is our finished artwork. 100 images in a huge layout. But it only took seconds to generate. And once you've created one of these, you can repurpose your original file, what I call the pre-data merge file, to create any number of variations of that with different images or a slightly different layout if you prefer. What I'm going to do with this one is making sure I've got the picture frame selected. I'm going to go to the stroke panel and add a stroke to it. Now, I think it's black at the moment, so you can see it appearing. Obviously, I don't want it anything like that big, but big enough so we could actually see it with the images. So somewhere between 8 to 10 points. Then, in the swatches, instead of that being black, I'm going to change it to white. I think we'd see white better given the images that we're using. And then all I need to do is regenerate that data merge. Now, I closed my Data Merge Manager, so going back and selecting it again, and generate. I get a second file. It will warn me yet again and ask me yet again if I want to embed these images. There we go, and close that. And this time we have the same images in the same order, but they've actually got a little white border around each one. I've seen layouts like that used for magazine adverts and posters for events. Hopefully that will give an answer to the viewer with the challenge. Enjoy. Now, you could be forgiven for thinking that a data merge layout is like a straitjacket. It's very structured and rigid in terms of layout, but it doesn't have to be. Let's take a look at another file. Yes, this layout really is powered by a data merge layout. In fact, more than one. So what we have in this file is a background, which I have locked, and then I've added 5 different negative frames. So I have my red single, I have a dual dark frame, I have the black single frame between those, I've then got one with 3 in on the right hand side, and one at the bottom with 2 frames on it. How on earth am I going to get a data merge layout to work for that? Well, let's have a look. What I'm going to do is toggle off everything but the one that I'm working on. So I'm starting with this single red frame, and in it I have an image, which is the single red frame. That too is locked because I don't want to move the background and I don't want to move the frames as I'm adding the data merge layouts. So let's go and create the first data merge layout. And what I'm going to do with that, I know the image is going to be square. So I'm holding the Shift key down and drawing out a square. And I'm trying to get it almost accurate. in terms of size, but that is no big issue because I can sort it out down the line. Initially, again, it's got 2 rows and 2 columns, and I only need it to have 1 row and 1 column. It's going to be an individual image. Now, in the last demonstration, I did a lot of work before I hooked the file up to its data source. But here I'm going to hook it up to the data source right away. And the reason is that what makes this file different from the last one is on the last one, I could do a lot of work in that single cell and it would ripple through to all of the other cells in the data merge layout. But here, because I'm going to have multiple data merge layouts, I want to create one that is fully correct and then just duplicate it. So what I need to do in here initially is to add a picture frame. And I'm making that square so it fits the size of that data merge layout cell. The next step is to hook that up to the data, and that's why I need the data merge manager and to go and hook it up to the data. Now this time I'm not going for the 100 images because I'm going to have 9 frames and I want 10 pages. So I've got another data set that is identical to the 100, but this time it's only got 90 images in it. And open that, moving that out of the way again, going back to my fields panel, making sure that I have selected the picture frame, which I have, and double clicking on the image. And we're almost there. The only thing I need to do with this is make sure that it's in the right place. And obviously you can see it's a bit of a distance out at the moment. What I'll do with that is zoom in and show you how I would go about arranging this. So what I'm making sure that I've got selected now is just my data merge layout, which is inside the group containing the red single frame. And moving the top left corner, so it's just in the red area, I can use the arrow keys to be more precise. I'm actually going to rotate this data merge layout. And I need to scale it so it fits in there. One thing to be aware of with this, you have 2 handles in the lower right corner. Obviously you have all of the other handles, but the 2 in the bottom right hand corner are important. If you were to grab the interior handle and scale it, look what happens. You would only get to see about 25% of that image. What I actually want to do is to scale the whole thing and not mask the image. So I'm going to undo that. Instead of the interior handle, I'm going to get the exterior handle and scale with that. And you can see what's happening is the blue image that represents the final image is scaling with the frame. That's absolutely what we want. We now have the first layout sorted out. At this stage, what I'm going to do is to copy that data merge layout. So Command and C, and I've copied it. At this point, I no longer need to see the single red frame. I'll zoom out to the whole thing and I'll turn on the next frame, which is the dark jewel frame here. And with nothing selected, I'm just going to paste in that data merge layout. It will put it at the top of the layer stack. And what I need to do is move it into place and position it correctly. So first of all, rotating it so it's just about right. I'm only eyeballing it because I am going to move it into place. That actually doesn't look too bad at all. Might move it up a bit. It isn't going to matter if it's extending into the negative frame, because these images are going to be placed behind the negative frames. Again, using that exterior handle and pulling down and making sure that it's covering everything it needs to, we have our second data merge layout. Now what I'm going to do is hold the Option key down and drag a copy of that over to the right. Now I might need to scale this. I'm certainly going to need to move it. The rotation isn't bad. But there we go. We could possibly get away with that a little bit smaller, but that will do. At this point, we have 2 data merge layouts at the top of the stack. They need to be inside the dark jewel frame group, but they also need to be behind that frame. I'm just checking. I didn't do that with the red one. Naughty me. Slap on the wrist. Right, I've got those 2 sorted now. Hiding the dark jewel frame and turning on the black single frame. Again, with nothing selected, pasting in, and I've got that copy of the first one, moving it into place, scaling it and rotating it. So this is very much rinse and repeat as many times as necessary for your layout. Now I will need to be quite careful with this one, which is why I'm zooming in, because the frame on the right hand side is very narrow. So I need to make sure I don't have any of this image hanging outside. So although the rotation doesn't look bad, it's going to have to be rotated in such a way that I've got a little bit of the image on the right, but nothing overhanging it. So looking at this, I'm going to need to make it a little bit bigger and then move it back to the left, because I've got way more scope on the left to hide any overhang from the image. Then I need to put that behind the black single frame, close that group, toggle it off and go on to the next one, which is the triple one on the right. But my data merge layout will come in on the left, that's where I copied it from. I will then move it across to the right and zoom in so I can position it. You're probably getting the hang of this now. As you can see, I'm not being that precise with it, just making sure that there is enough behind it. I could be more precise, but no great issue. Now what I'll do with this one is, this is the correct size. So I'm holding the Option key down and pulling that down for the second one. That is not bad at all. And do the same again for the third one, which is going to need scaling because of the border at the bottom. So I'm going to get the bottom border sorted out first. That looks reasonable. How is it at the top? Not bad, but I think it needs to move slightly to the right. So I'm using the arrow keys to move it to the right. I might need with that to make it a fraction bigger at the bottom. Let's have a look at it. Not bad. I think altering the rotation would solve the problem with that. And that's why I've gone for completely separate data merge layouts here. If I rotate that a fraction, it will make no difference to the rest of it. It will just make sure that the bottom is correct. And zoom out. We've now got 3 data merge layouts that need to go behind the 3 frames. And we're now on to the final one, which is the light jewel here. So I'm turning that on, turning the 3 off, and paste in that data merge layout. Move it down into position. This has got nice wide borders on it, so it shouldn't give me any problem at all in terms of sorting out the alignment. Using the exterior handle and then the arrow keys to get it in place. I could probably make that a little bit smaller. And then duplicating that into the next frame, which is over there. Making sure that that's okay, which it is, and we're done. So let's recheck the file and see exactly what we've got here. Right, I'm going to fold all of these up and I need to place the data merge layouts behind the frame, and then let's toggle everything off and start from the background. So there was first of all the red single frame, then we had the dark jewel frames, we had the single black frame, the 3 frames and the light jewel frames, and that is our layout complete. I'm going to save that file, bring the data merge manager back, and with this, just generate. Yes, I still want them embedded, but thank you for asking. And close that. It takes us to the last page, but we'll go to the first one. And there is our completed layout. So it's a contact sheet, but with a difference. It's not structured, it's not a rigid layout. You can make these layouts look like anything you like. So let's have a quick recap. The first demo was a huge 1 meter square layout containing 100 images, powered by a single data merge layout. A single picture frame was added to that data merge layout, and then it was a simple matter of merging it. I did provide an alternative treatment by adding a border to each image and then reran the merge. In complete contrast, the contact sheet demo needed 9 data merge layouts. Each data merge layout contained a single image, and each data merge layout had a custom rotation. It also had a custom scale. All the data merge layouts were placed behind the negative frames, and the final output was 10 pages generated from 90 images. 2 very different outputs, but both are a way to showcase images with very little effort beyond the initial design. Definitely 2 to add to your template location. If you want new tutorials and tips and tricks on a regular basis, check out my free training at elainegiles.com/VIP. Hit the subscribe button and notification bell so you don't miss future tutorials. And if you have any requests for specific tutorials, be sure to contact me. I would love to hear from you. Thanks for watching, and see you next time.